when I was younger, like people look at me, they're like, dude, you're an athletic kid, like look at you, you're in shape, you're muscular, you're confident, you speak on camera well, you articulate yourself. Like, dude, listen, I was a polar opposite. Like I was just mentioning, I thought I was fucking stupid when I was a kid. But I didn't articulate myself well. I was very anxious. I was an introverted gamer. I sat inside all day, play my PlayStation. I couldn't wait to fucking go home. I would never do schoolwork or fucking homework. I just hated the idea of school in general. And I would just rush home, get past the fucking bullies in my neighborhood that would beat the shit out of me sometimes. And then I would just like get back home and I just sit in my room and fucking play video games the rest of the night. And I would just like stay up as late as possible playing because I was in my fantasy world. Everything I could control, I could be whoever I wanted to be, not who people saw me as. And it just made me feel a sense of peace. So I started reflecting back on that story of like who I once was, and like I'm like, man, I came very far. Like I was super anxious of women. I would never talk to girls. Like I wouldn't even like. And the thing is, I would almost categorize myself as being extremely insecure and having a lot of self doubt. I didn't think I lacked a sense of like self worth. I think even. I didn't think I was worth anything, so I didn't pursue anything. It was like almost like an indoctrinated poverty mindset because I grew up very poor. I grew up, in a trailer park in, a little bit north of Detroit, Michigan. Aside from being some of the poorest kids at my school, I was also the poorest ones in our family. Like when we'd go to my grandma's house and shit like that, like our family was the poor family. So like I think that definitely indoctrinated me with a very specific way of thinking, and it like created a sense of like lack of self-worth. And that's essentially kind of where my story began, because like I would never push myself to do anything. I never take risks. I never take chances. I wouldn't put myself out there because I didn't have the confidence in myself. But the interesting thing I learned about confidence is crafted. It's not, you're not born with it innately. Nobody's born confident. You kind of have to craft it over doing hard shit, building reputation in yourself. So my origin story was essentially me being some nerdy, introverted kid, shy of fucking women, lacking self-confidence, that I had to be forced to do shit for myself because I wouldn't take advantage of it. Life had to choose for me because I wasn't making decisions for myself. And this is kind of where my story begins, because I would say the first thing that ended up happening to me was I had somebody force me to work out. There was a friend in my neighborhood at the time that I had who actually ended up forcing me to go to the gym. I fucking hated it. I would find every excuse not to go. Like I would pretend I was sick. I'd tell my mom to answer the door and say, like, hey, I can't come. But he forced me. And he kept making me go. And it made me super fucking anxious all the time. I remember he would sneak me into an Anytime Fitness at like 10:30 at night when the staff left. And I was already anxious, a kid as it is. And then I felt like I was doing something wrong because I didn't have a membership. I wasn't supposed to be there. And then on top of that, I was fucking frail little bitch. I didn't know what to wear inside the gym. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. My body was fucking frail, and there were some people there that were working out that were like way bigger than me, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck do I do? And it just really fucked with me for a long time. But I had to be forced to do it. And then after about a year period of time, I started enjoying it, and then I eventually made a fucking career out of it. Like that's wild to think about. Like something that literally transformed my life, helped me travel, meet my wife, build confidence, helped me compete in a bodybuilding show, made me move states. Like this thing about me that was able to help me craft an entire life had to be forced into my life by somebody else at one point, which is strange how something like that can transform your life, even though it wasn't your choice. And then the second time I was forced to do something was when I got kicked out when I was 18. Now, my parents aren't bad people. They're very good people. They were troubled. They had their own problems they were dealing with, both financially, emotionally, mentally, physically. And I was about 18. It was I think around like February, Marchish, which February is my birthday, which is kind of strange. But I was going to Cancun to my grandma. My grandma took all of her grandkids to Cancun when they turned 18 as like a graduation present. So I was really excited to go. I had a girlfriend at the time because I built up some confidence from working out. And I was excited to go. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. And and my dad didn't like that I was going. I think that was probably more of just an excuse at the time for him to try to find a way to cope with his stress around money because we were poor, and the fact that he couldn't even afford me being there. So I came home one day and all my shit was sitting outside in Glad garbage bags, like those white ones with the red zip handles, and I was like, shit. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was like I was forced into the world. It wasn't even by choice. I didn't even finish high school yet. And I just remember I started breaking down in that moment. And like reality hit me. I'm like, dude, this is how quickly life hits you. sometimes. It's like, especially when you're not prepared for it, like, I didn't know what the fuck to do. All my shit was sitting outside. I'm like, where the fuck do I go? So I called my grandma at the time, and she's like, just come over here. We have an extra bedroom you could stay in. And I ended up going to live with my grandma, so like from like 18 till probably about like, actually I stayed there for like a year and then I moved in with one of my buddies, but I stayed at my grandma's house for a year and I just had no fucking idea what I was going to do, but it's just another example of how I was forced into the world. Hey, time to be independent, motherfucker. You weren't choosing for yourself, so the world had to choose for you. Crazy. It's crazy how that works out. And that's where my fucking journey began, man. I was in fitness at the time. I had no idea. All my friends were going away to college. Well, the few friends I did have, all of my friends, I could count them on one hand. They were going off to college, and I had terrible fucking grades. I pretty much failed 10th grade because I had to stay for like summer school for a little while. And I just didn't. I wasn't in a good position, so I had to go to a community college. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but I'm like, I need to do something, because I wasn't just going to sit here and do nothing. I wasn't going to be living at the fucking bottom of the food chain. And I had to survive. I had to buy food for bodybuilding. That was my main incentive, right? I was working out for a while and I started getting interested in bodybuilding, around that time too. And I think that was kind of something that also like stabilized me emotionally at the time, because it's like, dude, I got kicked out of my fucking house, right? I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And bodybuilding was almost like kind of like an identity for me to pursue and almost like a path of progression. And it became like an avenue of personal development for me. So at least I was doing something to develop myself, physically, even emotionally. I think working out definitely provides you with almost like an emotional framework to kind of help you work through some shit that you're dealing with. It's like a vent for negativity going inside the gym. But yeah, I mean, it's fucking wild. Forced into the world, forced into working out. And it's just like I've been a product of forced change my entire life. And that's wild because I find that I do that with people now. It's like when I work with people in a coaching setting, it's like I feel like there's a certain point in people's lives where they need to be pushed off the cliff because they're just too scared to jump. They don't have the confidence in themselves. They haven't built it over time. So they need to be pushed. And I was a product of being pushed multiple times in my life. I only gave you 2 examples, but there was many, many others to where I had forced change upon me, and it was always an external force that came into my life. And it's like, dude, you got to fucking change. You don't have a choice anymore. So I do that for people now. I'm like, dude, listen, you could fucking be better or you could be worse. What do you want to be? The less time you spend working on yourself, the more time you spend actually fucking contributing to an illness down the road, So I just find myself now just like doing that with other people. It's fucking wild to think about. But like, look, I hope that if at some point somebody gets to this video and they get to this part, I guess what I'm hoping that you take away from this is like, everybody lacks confidence to change. Your body and your mind resist change. Your body, it's called homeostasis. It just tries to level itself out. And then your brain just resists change by going towards comforts, right? What's familiar to it. And so you're going to resist change no matter what. And sometimes you need to be pushed off. And let me tell you, it's fucking painful, but it's over pretty quickly. And then once you hit the bottom, the scary part's over. Because just like going into an ocean, it's only scary when you can't see the bottom. But when you see the bottom, it's like, it's not that big of a deal now, But once you're at the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. But sometimes you need to be pushed over the cliff so you hit that bottom. And, that's probably the best advice I could fucking give anybody. Is find the fucking bottom, and the best way that you find the bottom is by having somebody push you over. Find somebody who aggressively wants better for you. I used to think that it was a very bad circumstance that I had growing up with that guy who forced me to go to the gym because he'd also beat the shit out of me every fucking day. He had a turbulent mood, right? He had some psychiatric issues, and like he would go from like laughing and smiling to crying to like aggressive anger to like beating the shit out of me, like to a point where like I actually have a cut on my fucking knee right here where it's busted open from him. Punch me in the fucking stomach. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying like literally beat the shit out of me, but it was necessary. Now that I see that, because I was a little bitch, I let the world keep choosing for me. I didn't take up responsibility. I didn't pick up my torch and say, this is how I want my life to be. And you know what? There's points in my life where I still struggle with that today. I think everybody does. You know, you lack confidence, you have self-limiting beliefs, you have doubt, insecurities, you know, things that prevent you from progressing in your life. But look, you can get past them. You know, you just have to be brave enough to stand up to them and realize that the monster that you think is, you know, very large is actually very small. You know, if not incapable of preventing you from doing anything. So yeah, I don't know how fucking long this video is, but I'm gonna wrap it up here. You know, fucking sweating my ass off. It's what time is it? It's like 7 o'clock here right now in Arizona, and it's still 100 degrees. Crazy. All right, friends, if you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching. Also, if you want some fitness-related content, I do make other videos on YouTube, whether you're watching this one because a result of the other videos I posted, or if you just watch my vlogs, go ahead and check some of those out. I give a lot of valuable information. My hope is that, you know, I can give back the information that I was able to learn over time on YouTube, because I was very poor growing up and I didn't have the financial resources available to me to pay for coaching and mentorship. So I had to find it passively through things like YouTube. So, yeah, I hope you guys can get some value out of that, and thanks for watching.